right. So, as you may or may not have heard, the Arizona Supreme Court has allowed a uh, near total abortion ban that came into effect before Arizona was a state, around the time of the Civil War. So, that's great. But we have some good news because I think I've heard that they're trying to put on the ballot a referendum that will allow abortion rights to be the law of Arizona, which would be great. But to the article. Abortions will soon be outlawed in Arizona, except in cases where a pregnant person's life is at risk. And as we've seen in other cases where this is an exception, it's basically let's torture the woman until we deem it that her life is at risk, because seriously, what the hell? The state Supreme Court has ruled Arizona should follow a restrictive abortion law dating back to the 1860s. Since December 2022, Arizona doctors have been allowed to provide abortions up to 15 weeks into a pregnancy, based on the lower court's interpretation of state laws. But the state Supreme Court now says Arizona should follow a law banning abortions in almost all cases. It makes no exceptions for rape or incest, and makes performing an abortion punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. Planned Parenthood Arizona, the state's largest abortion provider, says it plans to continue providing abortions until the decision is enforced. In the ruling, justices wrote that they will stay enforcement for 14 days, possibly longer, allowing abortions to continue during that time. Planned Parenthood Arizona, the state's largest abortion provider, says it plans to continue providing abortions as long as allowed. An effort is already underway to put a measure on 2024 ballots that would enshrine abortion rights in the state constitution. And as we have seen in states that have been conservative, like Kansas, women come out in droves and they shoot these bans down. So here's hoping that happens in this case. And I believe Florida also is about to feel the wrath of women. Democratic President Joe Biden criticized Arizona's ban in a statement, calling on Congress to pass federal abortion protections. Millions of Americans will soon live under an even more extreme and dangerous abortion ban, which fails to protect women even when their health is at risk or in tragic cases of rape or incest, he said. This ruling is a result of the extreme agenda of Republican elected officials who are committed to ripping away women's freedom. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, for those who are unfamiliar with their history, women were still, what men today and a lot of women, seem to think women should be walking incubators, because they had zero rights. They sure as hell didn't have the right to vote. So, Vice President Kamala Harris is scheduled to travel to Tucson on Friday for an event focusing on reproductive freedom. It's Harris's second trip to Arizona this year to push for expanding abortion access. The decision comes a little more than a week after the Florida Supreme Court decided to allow that state's weeks, oh my God, does nobody proofread anymore? That state's 6-week ban to take effect May 1st, and a day following former President Donald Trump's announcement that abortion should be left up to the states, angering some of his supporters ahead of the 2024 election. I don't know what they were expecting. He basically is if your view is X, at some point in his life, Donald Trump has shown support for X, because he runs the gambit. He will say one thing, then he'll say another thing that's exact opposite, then he might go in between. He runs the gambit because he wants everybody to think he's on their side, when he's on the side of Trump. He doesn't give a shit about anyone else. The U.S. Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade nearly 2 years ago and handed abortion decisions back to states, resulting in a patchwork of laws across the country. 14 states ban abortion with very limited exceptions, according to the Guttmacher Institute, a group that supports abortion rights. Another 15 states protect abortion rights in various ways, according to Guttmacher. This November, there are efforts in about a dozen states, including the one in Arizona, to add a question to voters' ballots supporting abortion rights. And so that is all I have for this article. So there's really not much else to add except that, I hope that this comes back to bite the Republicans, elected Republicans, in the ass. And actually, not even elected Republicans, conservatives on the Supreme Court. Because they are basically giving ammo to women to vote them out, to vote for abortion rights, to vote them out if they're elected. You're giving women a lot of reason to turn out. And I don't think it's what you want. Because even Republican women don't like the bans. So this is not a partisan issue. Even though elected officials try to make it partisan and make it sound like Democrats are demonic baby killers or something, when Republican women are just as likely to favor abortion rights and reproductive freedom, because they understand that they can't know another person's situation, and they sure as hell wouldn't want to be put in a situation where they're stuck potentially dying because someone decided they know better than they do about how to regulate their bodies. Anyway, I believe that's all I have for this article, so I will see you guys in the next video.